The next sprite I will be creating will be the meteor sprite. I'm going to draw this sprite as well, so I'll draw some sort of rock. I'll change the color of the rock to gray, and I'll add some lines to it to make it appear to make it look like a rock. Okay, the rock is a bit too large, so I'm going to shrink it. And I'm going to change its name from sprite1 to rock. Now this rock I want to move from the right hand side of the screen to the left hand side, and at the end I want to make sure that if it hits the spaceship, the game ends. So I'm going to go to the control when the green flag is clicked. Now again, as with the spaceship, I don't want the rock to be visible when the game is in the instructions screen. So when the green flag is clicked, I want to hide it. Actually, it's in the look section, and I want to choose hide. But when I hear the start game, then I want the rock to go to the right hand side in a random Y position. In this way the user would not know where the rock is actually originating from. So I've just moved the mouse to somewhere here. As you can see, the X position of the rock right now is 197. I'm going to actually exceed that so that it's outside of the screen, so that the user will actually see it coming from outside the screen. So when I receive start game, I'm going to X and Y position, and X, right, it's increasing when I move it to the right hand side. So right now it's 197. I want to make it something like 220. That will be outside the screen. Now the Y position, the maximum Y is 148, and the minimum Y down here will be minus 136. So I'm using the random, and I'm saying pick random from minus 136 to 140. That way the location of the rock will be randomized whenever I start the game. I now want to move the rock to the left hand side of the screen. So as the way we proceeded with the spaceship, I will use a forever if. This way we will make sure that this will only work when the game is in the playable mode. So I'll use an operator greater than, and I'll say if the levels is greater than 0, then I want the rock to move to the left hand side. Now to do that, I'll just change the Y. Okay, now I'll check. The current location of X is 198. If I move it to the left, it's actually decreasing, so I'll have to change the X by minus 10. I can try the game again. Okay, we have a bug here. As you can see, the rock is not visible, so I'll have to go to looks, and I'll have to use the show when the game started. So I'll try it again. Okay, right. So as you can see, the rock moved from the left towards the right, from the right towards the left part of the screen. However, when it ended there, basically the rock stopped there. I want it to start all over again. So I'm going to use an if condition, and I'll say if the X location, oops, I want an operator, the current place is -255, so I'll say -250, and if the X location, if the X position is less than 250, then I want to go to, as I did before, go to the right hand side of the screen in a random position. I'll try this again. Right, it seems to be working fine. Now, I need to make sure that when the rock hits the ship, the game will actually end. So again, I'm going to use an if statement. If touching ship, then I want to end the game, so I'll just change the level. We used -1 for the instruction screen. I'm going to use -2 for the ending of the game, and I want to make sure that the level is hidden, otherwise the user will get confused with the -2. So 1 second there, hide the level. And since I want to change the background, I'll also have to broadcast a message, and the message now will be end game. So new end game. This end game will be the losing part of the screen, so I'm just going to say end game lose. I'll change to the stage, and when I receive end game lose, I will simply change the stage to the screen which will show that you've lost the game. So I'll just create a new one, I will call it end game lose. I will edit it, I'll put in some text, and a message something like you've been turned to dust. Okay, so in the scripts again, when I receive the end game lose, I want to change the screen to end game lose. I'll try it now. Right, I get the instructions, perfect. I get the meteors running, I can move. I just moved the ship so that it hits the meteor on purpose. You wouldn't want to do that when you're playing the game, and you get the message, you've just been turned to dust. Last thing I will do is I will make sure that the rock is hidden when the end game arrives. So I'll just go to the rock again, and just before broadcasting end lose game, I will just change the looks to hide. And I want the same thing for the cannon, so that the ship will not be shown when the end screen arrives. So again, I go to ship, and I'll just say when I receive end game lose, simply hide the ship. Looks and hide. So let's test it again. I get the instructions. Boom. You've been turned to dust, and the game ends. It would be cool if we could actually get the rock to appear turning. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to go to the rock, costumes, and I'm going to copy the costume a number of times, and for every time I copy it I'm going to rotate the rock until I'm back to the original rock. So again I'm going to change that. I'll keep doing this, and I'll show these costumes one after the other, and that will animate the rock as it's moving in space. This is a very basic form of animation, so I'll just copy it again and I'll rotate it. Okay, that should be fine. Then going back to the scripts, I'll go to the looks and I'll just say next costume. Next costume will simply change to the next costume. So I'll just try it now. There you go. Okay, I'm being unlucky. It immediately is hitting the ship, so I'll just move the ship out of the way. And the meteor is just simply rotating as it's moving on the screen. Boom.